NFL analyst Ryan Clark. And Ryan, you're one of the best in the biz at giving fans at home a perspective through a player's eyes. And it's been even more valuable tonight. We saw you earlier in Scott Van Pelt, and you join us now here on SportsCenter. As someone who played safety, as someone who's been on the field for serious injuries, as a player who came very close to being in a critical situation yourself, put into perspective what you saw tonight for us to understand what it would be like in a player in that situation.
Eaves, it's the most afraid I've ever been watching a football game. It was the first time that football, a game that so many, and I said it earlier, so many cliches are used about what you're willing to give this game. You know, we hear guys always say, I'll die for this, or, you know, I'll give my life for this. We may have watched a player actually do that tonight. And I said this coming up the elevator, that usually when you see a guy stand up, he stays up. We're talking about the most fit, the most physical, the most macho, the healthiest men in the world. And he takes what looks like a routine hit. He falls back to the ground. And when you watch someone fall to the ground lifeless, that's different than seeing someone with head trauma. That's different than seeing someone who hurts their ACL. And when you see Cincinnati Bengals players and Buffalo Bills players all with tears in their eyes, all dropping to their knees and saying prayers, we are talking about men who have been conditioned to ignore injury, conditioned to ignore pain, conditioned to understand that if we watch one of our brothers fall, we can move the football up 10 yards and we're going to start the next play of practice. Or when we watch one of our brothers being carted off, we're going to start the ball and somebody's going to blow a whistle and we're going to play again. There was no more playing again tonight, Eve. There was no more next play, because for Damar Hamlin, there may not ever be a next play. For Damar Hamlin, there may not ever be another breath. These men tonight, in all their years of football, saw something they had never seen. And I heard Lisa Salters talk about what they had to witness. Everybody is going through this right now. Damar Hamlin's mother, Nina, had to come down out of the stands and ride to the hospital with her baby. Yeah, I know he's 24 years old, but it's never going to change what he means to her. This is about a brother. This is about a son. This is about a cousin. This is about a homeboy. This is about a teammate. This isn't about a football player. The lives of Damar Hamlin and his family, the lives of the Buffalo Bills, the lives of the Cincinnati Bengals are forever changed tonight in a split second. That's how fast it can happen. And so something that you've always wanted to do your entire life, something that you've loved, something that you said to everybody around you, I would give anything to have this. We saw Damar Hamlin do that. And all I can say, looking at the faces of all those players, thinking about my reaction, listening to you even try to answer or trying to pose this question to me, Eaves, is that we were not ready for this. We were not prepared for this. When you decided to prepare for this show and talk about the Cincinnati Bengals and talk about the Buffalo Bills, you were ready to talk about Joe Burrow and Josh Allen. You were ready to talk about these great defenses. You were not ready to talk about a 24-year-old young man possibly losing his life. And I said this on the phone tonight in my room, talking to Marcus Spears. I said at 24, I didn't even know I could die. And this young man is faced with that, playing a game he loves.
And Ryan, as you mentioned, you guys are also conditioned to compartmentalize, as you just laid out. Here is a situation where the range of emotions in a relatively short period of time were a roller coaster ride for both teams involved. First, you see a player go down, you're like, oh, he gets up, he's cool. All of a sudden, no, he's not cool. Now it's dire. Now we're going to get a 5-minute warning before we're going to start playing this game again. You know what? No, we're not going to play this game again. We don't know what's up with our homeboy as he's going to the hospital. Now, are we flying home tonight? Give me an idea of what impact that has from an emotional standpoint, from a mental capacity, going through all of that in a short period of time.
Eaves, we're not emotionally equipped to handle this, right? Like we're struggling to do a job talking about what happened to Damar Hamlin tonight. And so imagine being his teammate. Imagine spending more time with Damar Hamlin than you do your own family. Sean McDermott sees Damar Hamlin more than he sees his own children, more than he sees his own wife during this time. These are all men that spend time together, growing together, making sure that one another is all right, doing whatever you have to do for your brother. And you are now put in the hopeless position of being absolutely helpless. There is nothing that anyone in a Bills uniform, nothing that anyone in a Bills hat can do to help Damar Hamlin. And you have to live with that. As a man who has built himself up both emotionally, mentally, physically, to be the baddest dude in the world, whenever asked to be the baddest dude in the world, you have somebody you genuinely love and you can't do anything to help him. You have to watch as he can't even breathe for himself. That's not what we're prepared to deal with, Eaves. I've seen ACLs. I've seen broken legs. I've seen dudes' face masks get cut off their helmets and they get strapped down the tables, and I'm thinking and waiting for the thumbs up because I know if you give me the thumbs up, at least you're okay enough. Damar Hamlin couldn't do any of those things. And he's 24 years old. He woke up to play a game. For him, this was just about going out and living a dream, right? He started 14 games this year. He didn't think he'd be in this position, but it's all he's ever wanted to do. And you're getting that opportunity on prime time. And I've played this sport, Ease. All you ever think about is the good stuff. No one ever visualizes the bad. But I've also been laying in the hospital bed when Troy comes to the hospital and just cries with me for 2 hours because he doesn't know if I'm ever going to get out of that bed. But at least at that point, I could talk to him. I could communicate with him. When Stephon Diggs gets out of the car and he's telling the policeman, I just want to go in and see my friend. I just need to know if he's all right. Unfortunately, he's going to get in there and he's still not going to know that he's all right. He doesn't just get to come out of surgery for his shoulder and be okay. Like, that's not what we wake up to do in this game. That's not what we've been conditioned to move on from. And that's evident when Sean McDermott and Zach Taylor meet in the middle of the field or they meet in the tunnel and they say that we can't go do this. They couldn't put these men back out on the field to do something they've been built to do their whole lives because no one should have to deal with what Damar Hamlin is dealing with tonight. They don't teach us this, Eaves. We don't talk about this. We don't converse about this. They're not trying to build us up enough so that this is okay because it's actually not okay.
Right? It's not okay. And the feeling of helplessness, as you just described, has to be overwhelming for his teammates especially. Ryan, I do want to ask you one more thing. And the reason we were so excited about this matchup, obviously, were the teams involved and the implications. Yes. It's the second to last game of the season. It could very well determine who you play and where you start the playoffs in less than a week, right? Week and a half. From your perspective, if you were one of his teammates, what would you have to know before you could be ready to play again?
You know, Eves, I don't think that these men can be ready in the time that they're going to be asked to be. I don't know if you could know enough that quickly. I think that if we could, and I'm not getting into the medical here, I think that if we could know enough that quickly, we would have heard something. And so now I think it's going to be on them to find a way to be strong enough emotionally, strong enough mentally to go out and do your job, because that's the only thing that's going to get these men on the field. It's not going to be because of want to. It's not going to be because the emotion of the game has now raised your sensibility or allowed you to compartmentalize enough that you're not thinking of Damar Hamlin. It's simply going to be because this is what we are paid to do. Damar Hamlin right now is in a situation to where not only the Buffalo Bills, the Cincinnati Bengals, the entire NFL, the sports world is concerned with him. The entire world is concerned about Damar Hamlin, because what we saw, Eaves, was unprecedented. What we saw was traumatic. What we saw was a true tragedy. And I do believe that every Cincinnati Bengal, And certainly every Buffalo Bills player needs to get an opportunity to speak to someone, needs to talk to someone and tell them what they've experienced, how they're dealing with it, and what they need to be okay. Because something like this doesn't go away because they tell you your friend will be okay.
You know, way too often in sports, we use the term scary to describe injuries that happen on the field, on the court, where have you. This was scary. And to your point, players will have to deal with that for a long time, and especially in the immediacy before they play the next game, whenever that will be. Ryan Clark, again, we appreciate your perspective and giving us an idea of what these guys were experiencing as they wait to find out the fate of their teammate, Damar Hamlin.